Good, happy Sunday evening, January 12, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Sunday evening, so let's begin. First up, lawsuit alleges decades of abuse at New Hampshire Youth Detention Center. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
If you can experience all this in just 15 seconds, imagine what you could do with a whole week in the Florida Keys and Key West.
New accusations this against New Hampshire's state-run youth detention center. In a new class action lawsuit filed Saturday, more than 24 men and women claim they were physically, sexually, and emotionally abused at the center between 1982 and 2014. The lawsuit comes 6 months after two former counselors were charged with raping a teenage boy at the center in the late 90s. That victim is now the lead plaintiff in this new class action lawsuit. The victims in this case claim they were between 11 and 17 at the time of the abuse and that their perpetrators were both men and women. State officials and attorneys for the defendants have not commented on the case.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Be like Brit. Family keeps daughter's last wish alive decades after her death. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB, Boston.
We are here to discuss Jesse's online time. 30 minutes. 1 hour with the tablet, and my client will walk the dog. Do the dishes. 1 hour with the tablet, the dog will do the dishes, and we got a deal.
Control your family's online time with Xfinity X-Fi.
Let's talk about getting our ears pierced.
Switch today.
10 years after a Rutland teen was killed in an earthquake during a service trip in Haiti, her family keeps her last wish alive. Since Brittany Gingle's death, her parents have channeled their daughter's spirit as inspiration. It created a foundation in her name, opening an orphanage in Haiti. And today, almost a decade later, Be Like Brit is helping the community back home in a donated Worcester office packed with supplies.
We're just grateful, really, to everyone that helps us, because the more people that help us means we get to do more and help in Haiti and help Haiti, and for that we're truly grateful.
And Be Like Brit hosted their first ever open house at their headquarters and hopes to continue improving lives for decades to come.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Three people arrested in connection with shooting outside Lewiston apartment building. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
Tired of learning foreign languages the traditional way?
Now an investigation into a shooting in Lewiston that closed down a stretch of Walnut Street for hours. Right now, it's still unclear whether anyone was hurt. WMTW News 8's Talia Clark heard from neighbors in that area.
It was like pow, 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 pow.
Lewiston residents woken up to the sound of gunshots just before 3 o'clock Saturday morning.
At least 40 to 50 shots, and then people scattered and police showed.
Police say several 911 calls came in about fighting and shots fired on Walnut Street. Police say some of the people involved ran into a nearby apartment building, and law enforcement blocking off a portion of the road and patrolling the neighborhood.
They have army vests. They're all around the building.
You scared?
One man calling his family cooped up in an apartment behind the yellow caution tape, looking up to them from the sidewalk and hoping for the best.
I'll be watching you from the window.
Police helping those children get out safely. Investigators laid down more than a dozen markers next to bullet casings in the road. and urged drivers to avoid the area while the investigation continues. In Lewiston, I'm Talia Clark for WMTW News 8.
Much more to come from that story tonight.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And again, we can tell you 3 people have been arrested. Iran's protests after government admits to shooting down Ukrainian airliner. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Another big story this morning. On a dime, it seems, the Iranian national rage at the U.S. for killing General Qasem Soleimani has been overwhelmed by anger at their own government for mistakenly shooting down that Ukrainian airliner. Protesters taking to the streets. That's as Americans assess President Trump's handling of the drone strike that killed Soleimani. A new ABC News Ipsos poll suggests more than half of Americans disapprove of how the president has dealt with the situation and say they think killing Soleimani has made the nation less safe. More now from ABC's Stephanie Ramos. Good morning to you, Stephanie.
Eva, good morning. After days of denial, Iran finally admitted to shooting down that passenger jet over Tehran, which has sparked those protests across the region. Iranians are upset with its government over what they see as an initial cover-up. Overnight, thousands of Iranians protesting in the streets, not against America, but now against their own government. Outraged over Iran's stunning reversal and admission that its military unintentionally shot down the passenger jet in Tehran Wednesday. President Trump tweeting directly to the Iranian people in both Farsi and English, writing, "To the brave, long-suffering people of Iran, I've stood with you since the beginning of my presidency, and my administration will continue to stand with you. We are following your protests closely and are inspired by your courage." After 3 days of denial, Iran's military now says the Boeing 737 operated by a Ukrainian airline was misidentified as a cruise missile flying over Tehran the same night Iran blasted missiles toward U.S. bases in Iraq, all to avenge the death of Iran's top military commander, Qasem Soleimani. All 176 people on that plane, including Ukrainians and Canadians, were killed. One of them, 23-year-old Sarah Sadat, a college student who attended Alliant International University in San Diego. On the night of the attack, U.S. intelligence captured radar signals from the Iranians which targeted the jetliner. A satellite saw 2 missiles fire. At least one exploded into pieces near the jet. Ukraine's president posting these photos of what he said is shrapnel damage on the plane. But questions still remain. Why was Ukraine's airline not warned of the dangers, and why was the airspace left open?
This is one of the issues that we certainly need better answers to.
The Trump administration insists the killing of Soleimani stopped a planned attack on Americans, but President Trump has still not laid out a case to show that there was an imminent threat. His administration is placing new sanctions against Iran, saying they will remain in effect until Iran changes its behavior. Whit.
All right, Stephanie, thank you.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.